everyone, my name is Heather and I'm the person behind happypuppytruffles. Today I wanted to share with you guys another sort of blog or whatever of me talking about what it's like to live here in Japan with my daughters. And you guys probably know who they are, Audrey and Kate, and I wanted to kind of tell you guys a little bit about Audrey and what it was like when she was born and what kind of a kid she's been and those kinds of things. Just sort of like a little look back, if you will. Audrey was born on December 3rd, 2003, so this year she'll be 16, and she was given the name Audrey because we wanted to pick a name that we knew could sound good both in English and Japanese. So my husband and I sat around a long time trying to think of some names that were possible for that. We knew we wanted a name that worked both ways instead of just picking a very Japanese name. We knew that because we'd be living here in Japan, having a name that has a middle name is really complicated. People here only have first names and last names, and so when you fill out official documents for the government or you try to get a bank account open or something like that, they like freak out because they don't know what to do with your middle name. Because when I tried to open a bank account, the place practically shut down. They're trying to figure out how to fit Heather, Lynn, Sheeta all in katakana. There was no way it could all fit. So it was a big problem for them for a little bit. And on my driver's license, it has to have the whole thing, and my passport too. So it was a big challenge, and I knew we didn't want them to deal with that. So that's one of the reasons we have just chosen for them both to only have one name. They don't have a middle name. And we wanted to pick a name then that sounded good in English and Japanese. And Audrey in Japanese is pronounced Odori. And so we thought, oh, that's not bad. It sounds cool. And it helped because even though a lot of people ask, oh, are you huge fans of Audrey Hepburn? No, I'm not. I've seen some of her movies, but not all of them. And I mean, I don't hate her. You can't hate her, she's beautiful. But it wasn't the reason for choosing that name. But we did kind of, because we know how insanely popular Audrey Hepburn is in Japan, it makes it easier for people here to say her name because they've heard it before. And so that kind of was part of why we picked it. And then we also, I like Audrey, the character from Twin Peaks, and Masa and I both collectively didn't know anyone that we hated with that name. That's always a big thing that you go through. Did I know somebody I didn't like with that name? We didn't know anyone, so that was the reason that we picked that name. And then we asked Masa's dad to pick kanji for her name, and then we, knew that we'd be calling her Audrey Sheeta. So that was her name. Now we kind of decided on it. When she was born, my first baby, and having a baby in Japan was very nerve-wracking. I've never officially studied Japanese, so I've only just kind of learned it through osmosis or whatever, just living here. And so having a baby was a little bit of a challenge, and I'll have a whole other video about what it's like to have a baby in Japan, because that'll take forever for me to talk about that. It's awesome, but obviously having any baby anytime is scary. But Audrey's situation was unique in the sense that we just had a lot of crazy stuff going on at that time. Masa's dad was having colon surgery for colon cancer, and right exactly at the same time that Audrey was supposed to be born. It was crazy. And then our dog, the dog we had before, Hunter Bear, he got very sick and he wasn't eating for days, and I was really worried about him. And the due date for Audrey came and passed. And I know a lot of times first-time pregnancies, you pass your due date a couple weeks later and finally you have the baby. But we took Bear to the doctor because he just wasn't eating for so many days. We were really worried about him. So we took him to the vet, and the vet checked him out and said that he had a rare disease that he got from being bit by a tick, because we live in a very kind of mountainous area. And the doctor, the veterinarian, was like, okay, well, this is a pretty rare thing, and once the dog gets it, we can't actually ever really make it go away. So what we can do is try our best to try to, kind of get the amount of it decreased, but it'll always kind of be in him. And there's like a 40% chance that he might die. So that was like, whoa, crap, I don't want my dog to die. So, and I'm like, 9 months very pregnant, and then hearing that news that my dog might die just made my my water broke right away. I was like, ah, crap, this is a great day. So that was crazy, and so we had to rush to the hospital. But then there's no reason to rush because Audrey wasn't ready to be born yet. It took a long time. We waited 3 days and nothing happened. So we finally tried to induce labor. That still didn't work. And then finally we went ahead and just had a cesarean. So healthy baby, everything was all good. She was, you know, very beautiful and the star of the place where I had the baby, because we were able to, you know, it was sort of like a birthing center kind of place, not just a regular big hospital. And so all the other moms, you know, we kind of all lived there for about a week, and we all kind of drop our kids off at the nurse station, and then we go eat lunch and breakfast and dinner together in a kind of cafeteria so we can all kind of share stories and see how everybody's doing. It's a really nice kind of community sort of feeling to having a baby here, which is nice. But everybody, and this is a whole nother topic too, of how weird it is being, you know, a foreigner in Japan, especially being a foreigner of a race that people admire here. Everybody, just all the other moms and all the other babies, grandparents who came to visit, they all were just like very, you know, wanting to see Audrey only. And it felt very weird because everybody's baby's beautiful. and everybody, you know, would just kind of, whatever, my baby, oh, but your baby's so cute. And they're all babies. They were all just born yesterday. So they're really, if you have to be honest, they're all kind of actually ugly. Little wrinkled red faces and stuff. But everybody just couldn't stop talking about how cute she was. And not, I mean, I thought she was beautiful because she's my baby, but it was very awkward getting all that attention. It felt really weird. I'm like, well, what about your baby? Your baby's cute too. So that was weird, but so that was sort of the beginning of her life. And then, you know, the nurses would be excited to take care of her, and they'd be mad if she didn't open her eyes at all. They wanted to see her eyes. And yeah, it was kind of a crazy experience. But so, and then I had the same experience with Kate too, because we went to the same place, but it was a little strange. I was more prepared for it then, but so we got home and everything was great, but then she started to have these terrible rash all over her face, and it took us a long time to figure out that she's actually allergic to eggs and to dogs. And our dog Bear lived in our house with us at this time. I mean, like really lived with us. He slept with us and everything. And even though I have a small allergy to dogs, I'm fine with it if I take medication and stuff. So I was fine with it, but she had terrible eczema. So we knew that we had to kind of change the living situation and kind of create a space for Bear to be mostly outside with a little place, you know, kind of in a garage sort of like area that's, you know, the entryway to our house where he could be. When we did that and cleaned everything like crazy, it slowly got better. And that was hard in the beginning because, you know, you don't want your pretty baby's face to always have such bad itchies all over it. But we got it all taken care of, and she was then, you know, I had to make sure I didn't eat anything with eggs because I was breastfeeding her. So once we cut all that out, it was okay. And then her egg allergy is one of those that a lot of kids have when they're born, and then it winds up going away like when they're about 6 years old. I think it started to taper off around that time, right before she started elementary school, and now she has no problem. So at the time it was more, you know, no eggs, and then just no egg whites, and then finally it got to a point where she could eat everything. So she's fine. She eats raw egg all the time from her chickens, and she loves that on her rice, and so it's all good. So that allergy went away. Her allergies for dogs and cats and stuff, though, are still there. She got those for me, and so we have to kind of keep an eye on her to make sure, because they show up. For me, I get asthma and, you know, runny nose, but for her, she gets the kind of a skin rash, and so we have to kind of keep an eye on her for that. But and then, you know, she was just a very fun, sweet kid. She had a lot of interest. I wouldn't say, you know, right away, oh, she was just drawn to music. That really wasn't the way it was, I guess. She just had a normal childhood growing up. She loved the cartoons that all the other kids watched at school, Purikya and stuff like that. And when she started elementary school, well, she actually started, I should back up, before she got too old. By the time she was about 3, we actually took about a 1.5 year break from Japan, and we went to DC to live and for me to work there. And so during that time, she started preschool in America, so she was speaking English there. And it was for a very short time, but our whole life was in English, and so everything was kind of geared towards English. And then when we came back to Japan, it was right before she was going to be starting preschool here, right before kindergarten, I should say. And so that was a little stressful time for her because she hadn't been using Japanese that much. And I remember her saying like that when she went to school, it was a little awkward because all the kids would say, hey, let's play onigoko, which is play chase, but she didn't know what that was because she hadn't been here, so it took her a little while to kind of get used to things. But she had good friends who took good care of her, and the class size was so small and all the kids were really good, so we had a good group of people that helped her ease back into Japanese life. And then when she started at 1st grade, she was fine, and really then Japanese kind of became her main thing. So she spoke all Japanese mostly at school all the time, and so her English sort of didn't get worse, but she just didn't use it. And so when it came a time that she did need to use it, she used it, but it was a little break from that. And then when her and I started doing homeschool when she was in 7th grade, then we kind of switched gears towards English again, and she's done a really good job of jumping between those two things. So, but there's always been a time, right, when that transition happens. It's a little hard at first, but she adapts very quickly, so we didn't have any trouble. But she is overall she's very outgoing. She, is very kind. She's the one kid to always, help out another kid that no one else wants to talk to, which can be hard because then you're stuck with the weird people all the time, right? But she's very sweet and good that way. So she was, had good friends, and she's a little shy. And so I know it took a few years until she was maybe in her 5th or 6th year in elementary school where she really made some really good friends. She's not particularly outstanding at sports, and it's not like she can't do anything, but she's not, she's never been on a sports team or anything like that. We didn't actually really push that hard for that anyway, because we knew here in Japan that would just take so much of your time if you were in any sport. And Masa, her dad really wanted to focus on, by that time when she was 8, we'd started guitar, and so we kind of never really even suggested it. We're like, yeah, you don't want to do that. You don't want to be on the volleyball team, no, because if you do, they just eat up all your time with stupid practice, and nobody ever gets to play, and it's not very cool the way they set it up here. So, we wanted to kind of stay away from that world, so we kind of kept her away from it on purpose too. But she does love swimming, and she likes, when we play around and goof around with the dog and outside and, things like that, kicking the ball around and stuff like that. She is capable of doing those things. It's just not something that she's ever actually become in a team kind of sport like that. But, and then she, we started doing the rocksmith thing, and in the beginning it was really hard, but she pushed through and did those weekly challenges with rocksmith and just kept getting better and better. And I think doing that and seeing that by practicing you can get a lot better at something, that really helped her realize that anything, even school too, anything that if you try hard enough that you can do better, and I think for kids to get that feeling is so important, to make them see that it's not like, oh, I just don't have that talent, or there's no way I can do this. I always feel so sad when I hear kids say that, because there should be something that you can do to help them realize that they can figure it out, and that they can do it okay, and that goes for really any subject, a lot of people say, oh, I'm really bad at math. I think that's just because they were never taught the right way, Some people need to be taught a different way, especially to understand things like math. And if you're not taught that way, then of course you're going to always hate it, because it never made sense. So I tried to do a lot with the girls at home to make sure that they didn't feel that way, because there's always some classes that just don't make sense the first time around. So, but Audrey did really well in school. She's a very good student. I didn't have to do much work with her at all. The only thing she didn't do very well at school was eating lunch. She didn't like the school lunch. and she was a little picky about what there was there to eat. And I would say that that's the only thing that she didn't do well in. Everything else in school, she did really well. She got good marks, she had good grades, and all those things. I had a good time in her class, the teachers liked her. But she just hated eating the school lunch. I feel so bad for her. And she would not finish eating on time and have to stay after lunch when everyone else went out to play outside a couple times. So that's her one thing. You guys know now, that's her thing. Now she's fine. She's grown up. She likes almost all those things that she didn't like when she was a kid. So it's not, you know, it's just a funny story now. And she's been a great big sister. I know sisters can be hard, and she's always been so kind and patient with Kate. And, you know, they so far, fingers crossed, have a really great relationship. And, you know, they both have a big part in that. And I'll tell you guys about Kate later when I do another video for her. But I wanted you guys to kind of know a little bit about what Audrey was like. We never really had any time of her being so, you know, rebellious or snotty or anything. We do live in a very unique situation in that both, you know, her father and her mom are home all day long. We work from home, so we're around all the time. So, and that can be hard when, you know, everybody in your family is like around all the time. But we try to create space for everybody, and yet also, you know, communicate well and things like that to make sure that nothing's wrong. But she's been a really good kid. So I don't know if I covered like all the things that I could. I mean, she liked pretty girly things when she was in elementary school. She changed, you know, she started off in first grade, she loved pink, and then the next year she liked blue, sky blue, and every year that kind of changed, you know. But so she was always pretty easy to shop for and things like that, though, because she always sort of liked whatever, you know, what other people kind of liked, but had her own sort of style or spin on things usually. So, but yeah, so a little different than Kate, who I'll tell you guys in the next video. So, but if you guys have any questions that you'd like to know about with that I didn't cover, you know, you can leave them in the comment section, because you can leave comments on my videos, yay, until YouTube comes over and takes them away. But yeah, I just wanted you guys to kind of know how she was like, and I'll have another video in a day telling you guys a little about Kate. I feel like I talk way too long, so if you hung out for this whole video, you're very awesome. I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.